Hello. I've had every intention of trying to put out another video, hop on. I actually had a whole topic that I wanted to get into. I've been sitting on it for a good couple days because it's been coming back up. And so I might even end up doing two of these today or tomorrow. There's no expectation. But this one hit more relevant for today. And I feel like it's just, I may as well talk about it while the iron's hot. Strike it while it's hot, right? I even drove down. I went to my local coffee dealer, support local, and I brought myself down to one of my favorite spots because I fucking so badly needed that grounding. A little bit of backstory. I was at the gym today. I typically tend to go to the gym about 5 days a week. I'm usually there anywhere between 2 to 3 hours. It's not as crazy as it sounds. I do an hour's worth of yoga and calisthenics, and the rest is usually divvied up between about 5 to 7 exercises with weights. Today I found, as I've found many, many times before, I've definitely had I've had panic attacks while at the gym. I've cried into my sets lifting my weights. It happens. It just happens. And that kind of brings me to today's topic. How movement inspires memory, how movement inspires and often triggers a lot of things that we kind of suppress within our bodies that we don't otherwise always have access to. And sometimes it could take something as simple as just something that someone says to you a million times over on a daily, and it doesn't hit you differently until it does. And memory is such a fickle thing. It is such a weird and intrusive, a very, very intrusive thing. To round myself to my point, I've been very, very off kilter the past couple days, not in any bad or concerning way, but definitely feeling the depression, feeling the imbalance within my mind and my body. And that's led to a lot of really, really deep emotions coming forward and really, really intensive just kind of talks. And thankfully I have a partner who, my husband is such a wonderful human. He was built for this stuff. He comes down to a level that it's just patience, it's calm, it's love, and he provides me a little bit of a safe place to land whenever it gets really, really bad. But having lived a life that you experience so many levels of pain and abuse and, obviously triumph and victory. But whenever you come from a place of pain, abuse, misuse, mistrust, it's hard to convince the body and the mind that it's in a safe place, especially whenever it's been triggered, to convince itself that it's not, or to convince itself that we're back to where we were. And that's what happened today. I was at the gym. I was in a really good mood, it was just kind of yeah, getting it. I had a bit of an episode last night where it was just not even an episode. I can't call it an episode. I had a moment last night where I was so triggered and I was so blah, and so I went and I smoked a bit of weed because that's what I do. I garden. And it helped to bring it back. But there was, after those moments, there's always such a level of embarrassment that really it sinks deep. It sinks really, really deep. And then I try to backtrack and be no, don't stop talking, no, don't react to the thing that I just did. This obvious invasion of emotion that I just brought to the picture. At least that's how it feels on my end. And I know that my friends and my partner and the people around me are forever going to be oh, no, it's okay, it's okay. And truly I do believe that they mean it when they say it's okay. But ultimately, there are so many times where that embarrassment feels as though I've struck a nerve that I can't unstrike. And again, today was one of those. I was at the gym, and two of my good friends, I see them just about every day. We, we're very committed to our practices with the gym. And my friend Mark always jokes and he's like, hey, you like stop talking, like you're gonna distract us, or like, go do your workout, like stop. And that's always been okay. Like that's never something I've ever been like, oh, he's mean and like he doesn't want me talking. No, like he's in the most polite way, literally humanly possible, telling me like, hey, you guys, like, because me and Sherry, his partner, like we'll talk and we'll just keep talking because like I'm a little bit on the spectrum and I will just fucking go on something I'm interested in. And that's how I show like, hey, I'm happy, I'm here, I'm like, and so usually that's fine. And that joke is just kind of like, zip your lip, you know what I mean? Like sometimes even as far as like, okay, no talking, no talking. It's never been an issue. And today was just such a weird strike. It was, I was in a rest period between one of my sets, and I had started talking to Sherry, and I got really like into the talk, and like they were moving on to a whole different section of the gym, and so he was kind of like, what are you guys doing? And I was like, I'm in between a rest, kind of like, I have an excuse to chat on my break. He's like, yeah, but you're not resting your mouth. That's still running. And that's funny. Like, to me, that's fucking hilarious. Like, that's not only clever, but like that's something he would tell me literally almost every day. And like we're friends outside the gym. Like we hang out. Like there's time to talk. And so I'm never like, oh, you don't want me talking to my friends. No, it's not that. Today it just, that brought me from such a happy and like kind of woo place to like, oh no, I gotta be quiet. Like there was a wound within me that was just so triggered by that. And I can even feel myself getting emotional now. But it was such a subtle thing. Like I tried to at first be like, oh no, I'm okay. And like they went off to the other part of the gym. So thankfully, like it was just kind of me back by myself. And then the tears started. And usually like I can cry pretty quietly into my sets and like, wipe a couple tears, and like some people will see and they usually understand. Because a lot of them have also experienced the same fucking thing. Anyway, today that movement that I was doing while experiencing that, it triggered a deeper wound even afterwards. And funny enough, Mark is actually the name of one of my previous abusers. Like he, for 2 years, really, really did a number. He gave me permanent injuries that I'll never be able to fully recover from, like both physically and emotionally. He had given me so many insecurities that I still kind of carry with me today. And then I know this other Mark who's just such a fantastic human. Like he's such a gentle giant and like truly deeply just cares to know that you're okay. And so of course he came back to make sure that I was okay because he didn't realize, and of course, how do you? Like they didn't realize that I was even upset until they'd walked back around, and like my face was obviously very, very red. I'm still wearing my gym clothes actually. I was like trying to, just wipe and sweat. And Sherry, she knows me well and she's seen me in these kind of lows, and so she's kind of like, no. But those little triggers, and I was doing the leg press, so as I was bringing my legs in, I like to bring my knees as close as I can to my shoulders to kind of push as much as I can. As I was doing that, it had triggered another memory, like within that same wound of, stop fucking talking, like quit the babble, like quit the, like, why are you like this? And like that's something I'd received so fucking much through my whole lifetime. I'm a talker. That's why I'm doing this. um, but it really triggered that wound of like, how are you so fucking stupid? And whenever my knees came back into my chest or into my shoulders, it really was one of those moments of remembering being in fetal position, remembering cowering and hiding my face. And that was a really, really intensive one. And so to summarize, the amount that movement acts as therapy, like the amount that, putting your body through those different levels of exertion and exhaustion will bring up those different things that are kind of left just down buried. It's still remarkable to me. It is so fucking remarkable. And it's also so confusing. And I'm so glad that Sherry and Mark came back around and did that second kind of like loop, and they'd seen, because like I was trying to kind of like hide and be like, oh no, it's okay, you know, it's okay. And Sherry like legitimately held me, and she's like, it doesn't have to be okay. Like, it's okay, like please let it out, like please, you know, like almost like finish the thought. And that level of support is always so appreciated, but it doesn't, at least for me, get rid of that feeling of embarrassment, because within my mind, it's, I not only took them out of their practice in the first place to kind of have that silly conversation, I continued to take them out of their practice. At least this is how my mind works. So I understand that I didn't force them to do anything. I understand that I didn't force conversation. And like at the end, I might have had, you know, lingered around that little bit more as like, thank you for being that safe place. But even still, we kind of like went off on our own way. Anyway, it's embarrassing. It's really hard. Like everybody always says, like, you know, oh, reach out for help. It's not that easy. It really isn't. Even last night with my partner, like my husband, he's been through obviously quite a few just like different levels of emotion within me. And like, as someone, again, who's been abused for a very, very long time and only in safety for like less than a decade, it's a very tricky thing to do. It's a very tricky thing to be there for someone who's going through that level of hardship, as tricky as it is to be someone going through those different levels of hardship. And so this is one that I felt called to kind of speak on today. And it's funny, the past couple days I've been so triggered, like so just raw and sensitive, and I've been wondering like what the fuck is bringing all that up. And I was like, okay, like, you know, maybe full moon, maybe like whatever. Then I found out, like, of course, there's like the 6 planets in perfect fucking alignment right now with the 7th coming. And it's being called the Parade of Planets. Me and Sherry, well, Sherry had brought it to me as the Parade of Feelings, because apparently I'm not the only one in this level of just really low vibratory energy. And it's really hard to balance. Even for me, who, like, you know, not even for me, that's making me sound like, oh, I got it all together. I fucking don't. But even for someone who has a lot of really healthy outlets, this is a really challenging time. This is a really, really, really just kind of like, from what I'm seeing, like, it's bringing up a lot. And that's not a bad thing. It's never a bad thing to have that ugly muck kind of come to the surface. It's uncomfortable. It's very, very fucking uncomfortable. But it's not unhealthy. It's not bad. It's like saying a bad trip. Whenever you're on a psychedelic journey, there's no such thing as a bad trip. There is a bad reaction to your trip. There's a bad, like, you know, you can receive that message poorly, but ultimately it's for a reason that you're receiving said message at all. As for movement as medicine, I mentioned a little bit in my last video with the yoga, how like as I was overcoming that level, that new trauma, that new attack, or like that new assault, it brought a lot of like shakes and tremors to my body. And I've had similar experiences where just like my body starts to react as though it's compensating for certain injuries. But I've also had big wells of emotion kind of surface whenever I was doing practices like yoga, like qigong, like you know, even hiking, in like weightlifting is a really good one for that, because it forces you to reach to those wells, like those absolute just like lowest points, and kind of pull that up. And you don't realize it consciously whenever you're doing it. It's not usually until you're mid lift, and then suddenly it's just like bah, and something breaks open. Or, you know, today like someone said something, I was in a perfectly good mood. Like that wasn't an attack. I wasn't being attacked. I was safe. But in my mind, I was triggered to that place of in fetal position, waiting for the kicks, like waiting for the blows to the head, waiting for the physical to match like the emotional, like the memory. And it's good. As much as it's hard to, you know, be like, yeah, it's a great thing to happen. it's really hard to do that, but it's good to recognize that, like, this is something that within those moments I would have been suppressing. That's something that within those moments of abuse and, like, and I would have been pushing it down. Doesn't matter that it was over 15 years ago. Doesn't matter that, like, it just doesn't matter. It's gotta make its way back one way or another. And the best way to experience that, in my experience, has been through movement. It's been through exercise. It's been through dance, through flow, through yoga, through being and sitting with the body, whether in stillness or in flow and movement. I've had song lyrics come on that just, like, absolutely devastate or, like, drive the point home. Today was really one of those. It was, you know, every song that was playing was just like, oof, another hit, oof, another hit, oh, another hit. And it's just trying to remind myself those are good hits. They hurt. They're good. They're really effective hits. They fucking drive the point home. Oh. And I felt called to, I think, do this, like, and speak on this, because I know that there's so many other people who deal with that same level of just pain, that same level of nonsense. Not always in the same way, of course, but, like, in varying levels, in varying degrees of exertion and exhaustion. We are all just struggling and trying our bestest. We're just doing our very fucking bestest. And trying my best to accept that love and accept that help. It's funny because even after accepting that help, kind of calming myself down at the gym and talking to them about different things, and then just kind of like reeling it back down, I realized I'm like, I was thinking to myself, like, I took so much of their practice away today. Like, I felt guilty. I felt like I needed to replace some of that for them. And that's, I think, just my practice right now, is just not blaming myself for needing help, not beating myself up for needing help. It's an icky journey. It's a very shticky journey. We've all got our shticks. We've all got these patterns of behavior and these beliefs and these fear patterns that we've kind of accepted and just, like, accepted as our agreements. Like, we've made that we've accepted that to be our reality for so long that whenever something shakes it up to remind us, like, that doesn't fit our current reality, like that old paradigm, like that old way of thinking, it doesn't work for this life that we're in now. And so I think those things come up so that we can help kind of, like, soothe them away and find, like, a proper home for those emotions, find a proper, like, that safe spot to kind of just express those. And I suppose that's kind of what this has become for me. Oh. Even with my partner last night, I was so, like, I was triggered, and so I'm on the spectrum. It's another feature of this beautiful fucking complicated makeup. And there are certain things that trigger just such an absolute fucking response out of me, and I can't, like, I'm still learning to get past it. I'm still learning to not let it affect me, and a lot of the times it doesn't make sense to me, like, and so I'll just try and develop this new way of thinking or behaving around it, even though, like, trying to make sense of the nonsensical. Last night I was doing the dishes, and I'd had my music just a little bit away from me, and that way the two sounds weren't too close together. And my husband and daughter came into the room, and they were having a conversation that I was listening to from the other room, but it was on the other side of the music. Then they came into the kitchen in between the water and the music, and that for me is, it's a weird sensor. I fucking can't. And I freaked out. Like, I had a really bad overstimulated moment. And thankfully, like, my daughter really understands, like, oh no, mom just needs her space. That's an immediate, like, that's not me, that's her, like, she's just okay. And so she knows to kind of square away. And my husband, he immediately drops his tone, drops his, like, everything. It doesn't matter what state he's in. He just brings himself to a level that he knows I would receive more easily. And I not many humans alive have been able to do that for me. I actually think he might be one of the first, because I don't think I've experienced that level of comfort, much less in a relationship. But he literally just, he stopped. He started chopping that little bit slower, because he was chopping carrots for the baked carrot soup that he made last night from scratch. Like, chef's kiss. And I fucking just, I'm like, get away from me. Why is everybody making so much noise? I can't. Like, I need to stop. I need to stop the music. I need to stop the water. I need to stop this. And it was just a lot. Like, it was a lot. It brought the environment in the kitchen from a really just kind of like, hey, this is cool. Like, this is flowy, talking about, like, you know, teachers in high school and, like, different experience that Kyle and I have had in high school. My daughter's in grade 7. And so, like, she's getting to, like, you know, writing speeches and doing all this cool stuff. And so we were talking about experiences pertaining to school and, like, middle school, and then what that kind of leads into in high school. And it went from a really good conversation on that to just, like, in the middle, like the absolute middle, like, because the octave raised just that little bit. And I lashed out. I was like, I can't fucking do this. Like, why is everybody always in my space? And oh God, it's, again, embarrassing. Like, I don't ever want to do that, like, much less, like, have that be my reaction. And I'm getting better at managing those reactions, but it's still just, oh, it's like, how have I healed or done so much to heal myself and still react like such an absolute child? And in my mind, I call it, like, it's childish. But if I was talking to anybody else, if I was dealing with anybody else, I'd be like, oh yeah, you just need, like, a real good hug. Like, you just need some good space. Or, like, I would know that to be a very natural thing for someone who's not only very fucking neurospicy, but has had a history of, like, serious fuckery. Like, anyone else, I'd be like, yeah, that makes total sense. For myself, it's like, oh, that's so embarrassing. My gosh, I guess, you know, like, it's just, conundrums. I think the biggest thing, though, is that after that little freak out, I was so adamant to be like, I'm sorry, like, go back to talking. And then I'd look at my partner, and because he was so quiet, he was so, which he knows is the safe, like, not safe, like, I'm gonna beat him up, but, like, he knows it's a safe kind of level just to keep during those moments. I took that silence as like, oh, you're judging me. Like, you're just up and down being like, why the fuck is she like this? You know, and the assumptions start. And the assumptions, I think, are one of the most dangerous parts of the neurospicy moments where I'm in that ick really, really heavily, because I start assuming and I make a story, and then that story becomes like, you're not safe. You know what I mean? Um, and of course he's like, no, you're fine. He's like, I love you. I'm here. I don't know what capacity that you need me here for, so I'm just kind of floating. And every human that struggles with regulating their emotions, and I'm not usually one to say, like, seek outside help to take care of yourself. Of course it does help, but, like, don't rely on that. I'm telling you right now, every human needs someone that is just able to kind of be that middle ground. Even whenever you have to be their middle ground now and again, because it's just relevant and important. Even last night, and there's so many fear responses. There's so many fear responses that I'm still learning to cope with, and days and periods, especially whenever there's phenomena like fucking 7 planets in alignment. What? When shit like that happens, like, it's really easy to get taken over really, really, really quickly. Today was one of those days, and I'm just balancing that with love, some good coffee, a nice view. Just, I'm sitting in my car. My husband's at home. He literally gave me money for said coffee. I even had money. He's like, don't spend your money on that. Give me money for coffee. He's like, get yourself a nice snack. So I got some of my favorite honey. He literally just told me, go have fun, go do what you need to do to make your soul feel better. And my God, glad I did. I'm already feeling better. Oh, this was gonna be, I don't know what it was gonna be. There's never any real intention for these other than the main topic that I kind of want to bring up that I've been kind of tossing around in my noggin. This one, I was hoping to have it pertaining to movement as medicine, and I guess I kind of done that. Move your bodies, drink your water, take your vitamins, go out and get some nice views, get some fresh air. Oh my God, get the fresh air. Whenever you can't meet the world or yourself with that little bit of love, don't meet them at all. That's not true. Meet them at whatever capacity you can. But just try to allow for that space. Try to allow for that bit of just forgiveness for yourself, even if you've gotten into that manic moment. It wasn't my first. Sure as shit won't be my last. The webs we weave. These have been my car contemplations. Tomorrow is my hubby's birthday, and 3 years since we went for that first walk in the cemetery. Almost 13 years after seeing each other the first time in high school. Or not the first time, but knowing each other in high school. 3 years I've been with the man that never in my life did I assume that we'd be together. Neither him. He'd never have guessed it. We're two totally opposite humans that meet in the middle in such a beautiful way. I have a lot to be grateful for today, and I'm allowed to hurt at the same time. Love you all. I hope you're doing all right.